Okay, just want to explain how I've done the Cobra hoods. Again, I'm sure there's many different ways, but this has seemed to work well for me in the last couple of Vertigos, both the 3M and the 2M. So you've got the cowl here, which basically needs to be continued back and made this, I call it the Cobra hood, but whatever you want to call it here, little fairing. So what I've got is, if you draw a straight line from the cowl, where it touches is just before this this screw, and I've got a little recess right here. I've left that for the top piece of the Cobra hood, which I'll show later. So what I've got in terms of stock, I've got some really nice lightweight 1-inch square balsa, and this is a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. First thing I did is I took my 1-inch square, I got a really nice butt joint up against the cowl here, and I cut it off to the length that I need. So I have a piece that's 16 inches long. I then glued on a little chunk of the 1/2 inch by 1 inch right out in front, about this long here. So I've got a piece that's 16 inches long or so, or well, actually I don't know what it is. Let me just see here. It is around almost 14 inches long. So I've got a piece 14 inches long and another piece here that's about 5 inches long that's glued onto it. And I need that little filler piece because I need the profile here to be a little bit deeper than 1 inch. I then basically I cut angles, so it tapers from being about almost an inch wide to being 0 right back here. So I cut a line like this, so I have a wedge, and then I did the same on this side. I cut a wedge which is 0 up at the tip, and basically the full depth here, which is like 1.5 inches here. So I have a double wedge, which is this right here. So when I put this on, like that, there is my basic wedge. So it goes from 1.5 inches or about 1.25 inches to 0, and this way it goes from about 1 inch to 0. So there's my wedge, and then basically all I'm going to do is, if I line it up really close here, there we go, just a sec, like this, you can see this here is now flush. I've made this flush with this outside surface, and there's a little tiny angle to follow the angle up here. See if you can get it this way. So I've got the angle in it this way, it's flush here. The last thing I have to do is basically make this contour flush, and that contour continues all the way back to no contour at all. It tapers out to 0 here. So all I'm going to do is I've just marked that contour, and I'm just going to basically take out a chisel and X-Acto knife, and then eventually a piece of 1-inch dowel with some sandpaper on it, and I'm basically going to carve this this contour in this block. I'll take another video here in a few minutes once that's done. Okay, just finished sanding the piece, and basically there is the contour. See, it starts off very, very thin, very wide, and comes down to a point. So basically it's going to go on the fuse like that. You can see that there's a flat spot here which will match the cowl. There's also a slight angle, which is the cowl where it goes up. And then this part here is rounded right here where the cowl is rounded. So put it on. It's going to go about like that. And you can see Tough to see, I got lots of lines going here, lots of marker. Anyways, it'll all be covered, but you can see here this is flush, goes to a point. This contour is nice and flush, and there's a slight angle right here that goes up. So once I get this glued in place, I can see there's a little tiny bit of a difference right here. This is slightly higher, which is good. Better be higher than lower. So once I get it glued on, I'll take my sanding bar and just cut that off a little bit. But anyways, that's one. I'll do the same to the other side here, and then I'll do a video showing how I take the hatch and extend it down to create this point in the look. Okay, so this thing here weighs next to nothing. I mean, it's just super lightweight balsa. I can weigh it, but it's probably, I don't know, I'd say 10 grams. So not heavy at all. You could probably try to do it hollow. I tried doing it hollow on my 3M. Worked out alright. Ended up scrapping it and just going this route on the 3M. And did it on my 2M and now on Ed's 2M. Seems to work good. Okay, over now. Okay, next step. I'm going to talk a little bit about doing up the hatch now and getting it blended in. So first, here's a picture of the bottom piece all done. So it's glued in place, not glued to the hatch obviously. It's glued to the fuse. It's all blended in nice and smooth. I'll take a little bit of spackling compound before I cover and just do a nice little fillet there, and it should come out really good. Other side's done as well. So next step now is I take a little bit of plywood. This is what is it? Just 32nd inch plywood from the hobby store. I cut a wedge like that, and the wedge is going to fit right in here, and it creates kind of like the extension of the base plate for the hatch. So what I'll do is I put tape down, obviously the sticky side of the tape up, and just kind of put it in here so I don't glue this piece here to the hatch and the fuse, and I can't get the hatch off. That would be a big problem. So I put a piece of blue tape down, sticky side up. I'll take my CA and I'm going to glue this plywood piece to the hatch, and if you notice, I've got a little balsa filler right in here, but right here there's no balsa filler. That's actually a little, the base plate of the hatch is inside a little bit, and this fits right in there, and we'll butt join against that with some CA, and then I'll put a nice little fillet of CA here and glue it down. Show you what I end up with, because I got the other side done. See if I can flip this around. Alright, here's the other side done. I've got my plywood butt jointed on, little tiny fillet of CA. This becomes really strong. So I'm just going to pop the hatch off and show it. Okay. Take the hatch off. Ooh, I'm going to drop it. Okay, there we go. So you can see the extensions for the bottom of the fuse and how it's going to look. Got the extension there as well on that side. I'll just blend that in really nice, and I'll overlap the covering so you won't even see that joint. And then, oops, there we go. And you can see here, there's the extension of the base plate. Haven't done that side yet, obviously, but there it is right there. You can see how it's comes out nice and level with the hatch, and that's why when I do this glue up, I do it, or this layup, I do it with the hatch down and bolted, so you don't get any gap. If you don't do that, this will not sit nice and flush against the balsa here, and you'll end up with a gap in the hatch. So anyways, so that's it. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to basically just take some balsa and I'm going to span this over. I'm going to just fill this in, glue it, and then blend it all in with the sanding bar. And then this all gets fiberglassed as well and painted, so this becomes super strong. And because it's triangulated like this, haven't had any problems so far on the 3M or the 2M in terms of durability. It's held up great. Isn't really much vibration anyway, so okay. Okay, last step. I've got the plywood base plate in here. Now what I want to do is I want to finish off this cowl area here and get a transition going. So I've got a piece of balsa that I've cut. It's I believe this is 1mm balsa, same balsa that we use on the sides. I've beveled the one edge of the balsa, and I put a stiffener plate with the grain going that way, with the grain going opposite to the balsa. And the reason for it is when I put it in here, I don't want the balsa to cave in here until it's glued and until I've got it glassed. So that stiffener just keeps the balsa nice and sturdy right here. And basically what I'll do is I'll just CA this in, just edge glue it down here to the base plate, and I'll glue it onto the balsa hatch. And then really it's just a matter of taking out the sanding block and blending it all in. So I'll show the other side. I've got the other side done. I still got I've got some drywall compound. Not drywall compound. Got this lightweight filler. Weighs absolutely nothing. That's what I use. I usually finish off the fuse with this before I cover, just to fill any pinholes or any scratches that I might have. So, but basically, here it is. There's you can see the plate. It's been blended in. I've got a little bit of filler right here. So tomorrow morning, I will sand all of this here, and I'll blend it all in, and it'll be one nice smooth area. And then I can glass this, and this balsa here, it's already pretty stiff, but once it's fiberglassed, it's not moving any bit.